a merry, merry Christmas.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
For all good girls and boys.
An excuse for the movies to revel in moments of good cheer and goodwill,
As Santa Claus so sprightly.
with plenty of Christmas magic, perhaps a touch of seasonal excess, and let's not forget serial killers, explosions, nightmares, and utter mayhem. As with every popular genre, festive films share common themes and traits which can be combined, jumbled, and reconfigured in myriad different ways. Like snowflakes, each one's different, yet somehow the same. And because Christmas is so deeply embedded in our lives and culture, it's a rich theme for filmmakers to mine. And tonight I'm going to show you how they turn our shared experience into the stuff of cinema gold. Whether it's our childhood belief in Santa Claus, our grown-up stress over the Christmas shopping list, or the challenges of the family get-together, with characters who have a little bit of all of us in them, for better or worse. These are just some of the ingredients that go into making the perfect Christmas film.
A very, 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 very merry, 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 merry Christmas for you.
Wow. Would you like it gift wrapped?
Well, Merry Christmas! Merry!
For me, nothing says Christmas better than It's a Wonderful Life, Frank Capra's magical 1946 melodrama in which struggling businessman George Bailey learns the true value of his existence against a backdrop of Yuletide renewal. The film is a festive favourite, but this wasn't always the case. Writing in the New York Times, Bosley Crowther captured the general critical mood. The weakness of the picture, he concluded, is the sentimentality of it all. The idea that It's a Wonderful Life is just sentimental schmaltz remains a popular cliché to this day. Yet, when you consider how dark and disturbing key sections of the film managed to be, it's remarkable that anyone ever thought of it as mere heartwarming fluff. Look at the narrative. As a child, George suffers irreparable damage to one ear after saving his younger brother Harry from drowning. Then he's savagely beaten by the drugstore owner, overcome with grief about the death of his own son.
What kind of tricks are you playing anyway?
As a young man, George's plans to go to college and travel the world are scuppered when his father dies, forcing him to stay and look after the family business.
They've appointed George here as executive secretary to take his father's place.
Oh, no, but Uncle Billy is...
You can keep him on, that's all right. As secretary, you can hire anyone you like.
Dr. Cameron, now let's get this thing straight. I'm leaving right now. I'm going to school. This is my last chance. Uncle Billy here, he's your man.
But, George, they'll vote with Potter otherwise.
Finally, after his foolish Uncle Billy loses a stash of money, George becomes so desperate that he goes to a bar, gets drunk, and thinks about killing himself. Hardly a feel-good Christmas favourite, with very little to ho-ho-ho about. Director Frank Capra himself said, "I didn't even think of it as a Christmas story. I just liked the idea."
Show me the way. I'm at the end of my rope, right? Show me the way. Oh, God.
Indeed, there are times when It's a Wonderful Life is lit and shot more like a film noir chiller than a classic Christmas tale.
Okay, just step on it. Just get me home.
Although it's based on a story by Philip Van Doren Stern, It's a Wonderful Life owes a weighty debt to what is, after the Nativity, the most famous Christmas story of all, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Both Dickens' story and Capra's film feature supernatural visitors coming to Earth to rebalance the central character's compass. Both show dystopian visions of the world as it could be if something doesn't change, leading to reform and redemption built around family and friends. And both have the perfectly judged mix of sentimentality and darkness that a truly great Christmas story requires. There's a theory, most recently dramatised in The Man Who Invented Christmas, that we have Dickens to thank for pretty much everything that we now consider to be a Yuletide tradition. And although A Christmas Carol was published in 1843, long before the invention of cinema, in his own way, Dickens is also the godfather of Christmas films. Now, that's not just because there have been numerous screen versions of A Christmas Carol. It's because even when filmmakers haven't directly adapted Dickens' story, they've continued to draw inspiration from it, to the point where it's now part of the DNA of pretty much every Christmas movie, in their themes, their stories, and perhaps most importantly, their characters.
Oh, there goes Mr. Humbug, there goes Mr. Grim. If they gave a prize for being mean, the winner would be him.
Ebenezer Scrooge is the kind of vividly drawn figure who leaps effortlessly from page to screen. A miser whose sour life experiences have turned him into a Christmas-hating cynic. He changes, grows and reforms when three ghostly spirits show him his own life and death and the wider world from which he's cut himself off.
Tell me that this will change my future. Tell me that this is not my end. Please.
Which cinematic incarnation you personally consider definitive may be down to your age, but many film fans favour Brian Desmond Hurst's 1951 Scrooge, which boasts a splendid humbug from Alistair Sim.
Humbug!
Though you can take your pick of other Ebenezers, including Sir Seymour Hicks.
The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now.
Reginald Owen, Albert Finney, George C. Scott, Patrick Stewart, Michael Caine.
What do you want?
Penny for the song, Governor?
Or a CGI Jim Carrey. But Scrooge has also inspired a whole host of substitutes. Characters who aren't technically Scrooge himself, but who deny or just don't get Christmas. Think of Henry Winkler in An American Christmas Carol, or Vanessa Williams in A Diva's Christmas Carol.
The remarkable life and tragic death of a diva.
What?
These are all the lady tears that have been shed for you in your life.
Or if you really, really must, and since it's Christmas, we'll just accept you for who you are, Matthew McConaughey in Ghosts of Girlfriends Past.
And these are all the condoms you used.
No. 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 Well, no. 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 No.
Perhaps the best of these loose adaptations is Richard Donner's 1988 Scrooged, in which Bill Murray's cynical TV executive, is there any other kind, is ultimately persuaded to embrace the true spirit of the season.
Grace, what in the hell is this?
Well, that's a painting one of my kids did. There's Santa Claus and there's Mrs. Claus.
Honey, how many fingers does Mrs. Santa Claus have here?
11.
11. Right. It's crap. Lose it. I don't want it on the walls.
Now, Murray's Frank Cross is a particularly malicious Scrooge figure because, unlike some of his screen cousins, he doesn't deny or avoid Christmas at all. Instead, he cynically exploits it. Like I said, typical TV executive.
You don't like Christmas much, do you? Like it? I love it. It's cold, and people stay home and watch television. Ad revenues go up 30%. All these idiots are going to be home watching a boob tube for me tonight. I am the biggest fan that Christmas ever had.
So, any chance of you maybe making Christmas dinner this year?
None.
You're
The Grinch! Well, that worked out nicely.
But as Dr. Seuss understood when he created The Grinch, A Christmas Carol has a dark secret.
Be off with you.
There's something about Scrooge's sheer refusal to play nice at Christmas that makes him a refreshing character who is easy to relate to, especially after you've spent 3 days wiring up the Christmas tree lights only to have a single bulb go out and plunge the whole house into darkness. Humbug indeed. For every incarnation of Ebenezer Scrooge, Christmas movies also require their version of his long-suffering clerk, Bob Cratchit, an everyman or woman or frog with whose pain and torment the audience can identify and sympathise. And sometimes they even step up from a supporting to a central role.
Excuse me, Mr. Scrooge, but it appears to be closing time.
Very well. I'll see you at 8 tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow's Christmas.
8:30 then.
But a great Christmas character can also be a combination of both Scrooge and Cratchit, mixing grumpiness with underdog charm.
That's right. I think we should be realistic and completely truthful with our children, and not have them growing up believing in a lot of legends and myths like Santa Claus, for example.
In Miracle on 34th Street, Maureen O'Hara is a single mum who doesn't believe in Christmas, but who is still essentially sympathetic.
Thanks. Please don't feel that you have to keep pretending for Susan's benefit. She's a very intelligent child and always wants to know the absolute truth.
Good, because I always tell the absolute truth.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
And while Billy Bob Thornton's bad Santa may be a cynical exploiter of Christmas cheer like Bill Murray in Scrooged, he's still a comic underdog, albeit one that could bite you at any time.
Next. Next. Oh, good. What do you want? What do you want? What are you doing? God damn it!
Nintendo Deer Hunter 3.
Shit, what you want? Blowing snot all over everybody and fucking whatever. Next, come on. What do you want?
Meanwhile, Martin Freeman in Nativity, the first in a series of critic-proof Brit picks from Debbie Issett, hates Christmas for personal reasons, but he's also a devoted teacher in an under-resourced primary school. His way of saying bah humbug is to have the one house in the street without any decorations. But as all these Scrooge variations learn, Christmas can't be avoided that easily. In fact, it can present an almost insurmountable challenge.
Good morning, Mrs. Deagle.
What's good about it?
Oh.
Like A Christmas Carol, a large number of festive films play out in the run-up to Christmas, featuring characters who have to complete a particular task before the special day. But thanks to the cruel inventiveness of screenwriters, these simple tasks can become Herculean labours.
Thank you very much. That was lovely. Anything else you'd like to show us?
A, B, Z,
That's good.
D.
In Nativity, Martin Freeman has to stage the school Christmas play.
When are you going to start the casting?
These children are literally useless. I am literally useless. Please don't make me do this.
He then compounds his problems by making an entirely unfounded boast.
Hollywood are coming to St Bernadette's.
Yes.
To see your show.
Yes.
To film your show.
Yeah.
Make a film out of it.
Yeah. And a book.
The result? Freeman finds himself forced to achieve the seemingly impossible. Otherwise, he'll be committing the ultimate Christmas crime, letting down the kids. Time and again, the countdown to Christmas becomes more like a ticking time bomb, descending ever deeper into absurdity. In Planes, Trains and Automobiles, Steve Martin's Neil Page is trying to make it home to be with his family at Christmas. Well, actually, it's Thanksgiving, but you know what I mean.
Train don't run out of Wichita. Unless you're a hog or a cattle.
Push, for Christ's sake!
Neil finds himself landed with co-traveller Dell, played by John Candy, trapped in a series of delays and mishaps, compounded by the merry seasonal weather.
Here we go. Reverse!
Boomerang suitor, and the rock and roll jetpack, and the realistic voice activator that says 5 different phrases, including "It's turbo Accessories sold separately, batteries not included.
They're all gone. No, there's got to be another one here somewhere.
In Jingle All the Way, Arnold Schwarzenegger has promised his son the year's must-have action figure, a Turbo Man doll, but he's left it way too late.
Where have you guys been? Turbo Man's only the hottest-selling Christmas toy ever.
Arnie ends up on an increasingly frantic quest to get his hands on the last action figure as the hours and minutes to C-Day tick away.
Turbo Man, help!
When Jingle All the Way was first released, I dismissed it as a crassly commercialised Christmas film about the crass commercialisation of Christmas. And yet it struck a chord with audiences in 1996, the year after the first Toy Story was released, perhaps because many of them remembered their own frenzied experiences trying to snap up Buzz Lightyear dolls.
And this is the Buzz Lightyear aisle. Back in 1995, short-sighted retailers did not order enough dolls to meet demand.
Hey, Buzz!
Halt, who goes there? Quit clowning around and get in the car.
But in Hollywood movies, the commercialisation of Christmas is just as often celebrated as satirised. The Christmas store only looks like a fake Santa's grotto if, like Will Ferrell in Elf, you've grown up in the real one.
Wow! What's this?
This is the North Pole.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Where's the snow?
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Well, young lady, what's your name?
Susan Walker, what's yours?
Mine? Kris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, do you?
In Miracle on 34th Street, we're invited to entertain the possibility that the real Santa has installed himself in the toy department of Macy's New York, albeit putting customer service before profit.
Now, we've got skates, and they're very good, too, but they're not quite good enough. You got a gimbals. They'll have exactly what you're looking for, I'm sure. There you are, yeah. Yeah, that's for you. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
The counter to all this commerce is, of course, the hardship that's so often acute at Christmas. And one of the challenges facing filmmakers can be to ensure that poverty doesn't just become mere conscience-tugging with Dickensian set dressing. In Hector, for example, Peter Mullen plays a homeless man travelling across the country who encounters kindness, aggression, bereavement and bewilderment, experiences that we share thanks to the intimate direction of Jake Gavin. Across the Atlantic, Sean Baker used Christmas as a backdrop for another tale of outsiders, transgender sex workers. Shot entirely on modified iPhones, Tangerine uses prototype lens adapters to capture gorgeous widescreen vistas while filming on the fly on the streets of LA. The result is convincing and often unexpectedly beautiful.
Jesus, Mother Mary and Joseph, you piss yourself.
But if you can't join them, why not beat them? Christmas is as good a time of year as any for a robbery or a heist, and filmmakers can't resist the idea that the season of giving might also be a good time for some taking as well. In Bad Santa, Billy Bob Thornton is a thief whose MO is to take a job as a department store Father Christmas and rob a different shopping mall each year.
Got it.
Bad Santa echoes a much darker 1978 Canadian oddity, The Silent Partner, in which bank teller Elliot Gould falls foul of Christopher Plummer's larcenous Santa.
Give me the money, you fucker.
But for sheer ambition and audacity, no one can beat criminal mastermind Hans Gruber and his spectacular Christmas Eve raid on the Nakatomi Tower in Die Hard. Gruber is, of course, one of the most enjoyably hissable villains in cinema. When asked about his flair for playing bad guys, Rickman said, "Thank God for panto training in rep."
After all your posturing, all your little speeches, you're nothing but a common thief.
I am an exceptional thief, Mrs. McLean, and since I'm moving up to kidnapping, you should be more polite.
The unforeseen flaw in Gruber's plan is Bruce Willis's cop John McClane, who announces his presence with a suitably festive offering.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Now, no less than Willis himself has insisted that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. But Bruce, if you're watching, it is. Get over it. We'll prove it.
Hey! Merry Christmas!
For now, let's remind ourselves that, like so many Hollywood blockbusters, Die Hard taps deeply into primal fairy tales and myths. In this case, the hero trying to rescue the princess trapped in the tower by the forces of evil. In fact, no matter how down-to-earth they may seem, wherever you look in Christmas movies, you'll find magic lurking around every corner, never more so than when darkness falls on Christmas Eve. What would A Christmas Carol be without its ghosts? We may enjoy seeing some of our finest thespians bar humbugging, but the moment we're really waiting for is when the mysterious spirits appear. British director Walter R. Booth knew this as far back as 1901, when he made Scrooge or Marley's Ghost. Booth was a former stage magician and used trick photography to remarkable effect, conjuring his phantom with superimposed images. Ever since, filmmakers have deployed the finest effects and makeup available to give their audiences good ghosts. And although the ghosts of A Christmas Carol impart some ultimately redeeming, life-enhancing truths, in Dickens' original story they range from the strange to the downright scary. The first ghost we meet in A Christmas Carol isn't one of the three spirits of Christmas, but the chain-rattling, woeful spectre of Scrooge's partner, Jacob Marley, the epitome of the traditional ghost. He's scary, but also pathetic.
It's a letter.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
The spirits of Christmas past and Christmas present are different. They're more like Father Christmas or the angel from It's a Wonderful Life, supernatural beings who embody aspects of the season.
Oh, look! It's Ebenezer Scrooge, looking older and more wicked than ever.
These spirits nudge the Scrooge character along, sometimes using tough love, like Carol Kane's violent pantomime fairy, Ghost of Christmas Present.
Why did you do that?
Sometimes you have to slap them in the face just to get their attention.
But scariest of all is the ghost of Christmas yet to come, the threat that comes after the promise, the Christmas nightmare awaiting Scrooge if he doesn't reform.
May I?
In It's a Wonderful Life, Dickens' ghosts are replaced by Clarence the Angel, an altogether more amiable character.
I don't know whether I like it very much being seen around with an angel without any wings.
Oh, I've got to earn them. And you'll help me, won't you?
Sure.
The romantic comedy The Bishop's Wife, made just a year later, also features an angel in the form of debonair Cary Grant, a role taken in the 1996 remake The Preacher's Wife by Denzel Washington.
I see a beautiful woman with a good heart. Only has to open her eyes to realize that everything she ever wanted, she already has.
But of course, there's one religiously inspired figure who visits us all at Christmas. A figure rooted in the 4th century Greek bishop known as St. Nicholas.
You said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Come right in.
On film, the definitive twinkly Santa Claus is Edmund Gwen's Kris Kringle in Miracle on 34th Street. So twinkly, in fact, that only Richard Attenborough could possibly play him in the 1994 remake.
Mine? Well, I have lots of names.
But the truth is, once you've seen one sweet Santa, you've seen them all. So, just as there are variations on Scrooge figures, filmmakers have also rung the changes on Father Christmas. Sometimes Santa's given a gruffer edge, as with Ed Asner's portrayal in Elf.
Santa! Back off, Slick. Scare the deer.
And for such a beloved figure, he's also been subjected to rather a lot of abuse. He's been thrown in jail, kidnapped by monsters and Martians,
Stay still.
and accidentally killed off in The Santa Claus and replaced by Tim Allen's divorcee dad.
Charlie, stay where you are. Charlie, would you listen to me? Stay up there.
It is Santa. You killed him.
Did not.
But perhaps the most irresistible approach is to bring out Santa's dark side.
Does your daddy have a safe?
Santa Claus!
Looks like you get to see him tonight after all, Billy.
No, Daddy, I don't want to see him. Keep going, don't stop.
The notion of a scary Santa permeates cinema, acknowledging the fact that children can just as easily be terrified as delighted by the prospect of an old man with a stalker-style list who's been watching you all year and who climbs into your house in the middle of the night when everyone is fast asleep. Fun fact, although it turns Home Invasion into a knockabout comedy with an emphasis on slapstick humour, the family-friendly festive favourite Home Alone owes an unacknowledged debt to a 1989 French horror thriller, René Manzour's 36 Cannes Code Père Noël.
24 décembre, minuit.
Also known as Game Over, Deadly Games and Hide and Freak, Manzour's film features a resourceful Home Alone kid who defends his house not against bungling robbers, but a homicidal maniac who dresses up as Santa Claus. Halloween may be thought of as the season to be scary, but John Carpenter's 1978 horror hit inherited many of its slasher riffs from that big daddy of Yuletide frighteners, Bob Clark's 1974 Black Christmas.
Claude? Who is it? Who is it? It's really beautiful.
And Black Christmas was predated by the British portmanteau horror film Tales from the Crypt, the most memorable section of which is a festive treat called All Through the House, in which a maniacal Santa stalks Joan Collins.
Security, we've got trouble at the North Pole.
In fact, if you were an alien arriving from space who tried to figure out what Christmas was all about by channel-hopping a selection of seasonal movies, you could be forgiven for thinking that it's the scariest time of the year.
All right, Merry Christmas, Frank.
What's wrong with Murray?
He's a trancer.
The scary Santa tradition is particularly strong in European movies, many of which tap into the pagan folkloric origins of Yuletide. Look at this sequence from Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet's eerie fantasy City of Lost Children, which sees the Christmas spirit turn from good cheer to bitter poison before the end of the opening credits. Perhaps the most intriguing take on the creepy possibilities of Christmas came in the Finnish film Rare Exports, in which Santa turns out to be a monster who was buried in a frozen mountain 1,000 years ago. Now his evil elves are running amok once more, and it falls to a resourceful schoolboy and his dad to help rein in the mayhem.
Mr. Queen, is Santa ready to fly?
Eikö halukki?
In Gremlins, Joe Dante's big-budget 1984 comedy-horror hybrid, it's not Santa causing the trouble, but an initially cuddly Christmas present which spawns a horde of destructive monsters. The resulting Christmas Eve chaos overwhelms the entire wholesome small town of Kingston Falls. But the most grimly memorable scene features Phoebe Cates recounting the story of her father's tragic festive demise, in which old Saint Nick becomes poor dead dad.
He was dressed in a Santa Claus suit. He'd been climbing down the chimney on Christmas Eve, his arms loaded with presents. He was going to surprise us. He slipped and broke his neck, died instantly. And that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus.
Meanwhile, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Henry Selick, sees the world thrown into upheaval when Pumpkin King Jack Skellington hijacks Santa's duties. If you've managed to survive The Nightmare Before Christmas with all its psycho Santas and supernatural entities, well, perhaps the biggest seasonal challenge still lies ahead.
Dawn, come see what Santa brought you.
Oh, Christ, I'm coming.
It seems significant that the stresses and strains of the family Christmas time are meat and drink for Trashmeister John Waters, who spent much of his cinematic life pushing the boundaries of taste and decency.
And I told you cha-cha heel, black one. Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels. Give me those presents. I'll never wear those.
The murderous depravities of female trouble, for example, begin with Divine toppling a Christmas tree onto her mother after this wayward daughter doesn't get the present she wanted.
You devil! Come here, you pay for this! You devil! Go on, Davenport, look at your mother!
In Home Alone, squabbling kids set off a chain of events that result in Macaulay Culkin being left behind for Christmas, his mother's worst nightmare.
Kevin!
The dysfunctional Christmas is a well-worn comedy situation. You can see versions of it in films ranging from Four Christmases, in which couple Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon have to visit all their divorced parents on Christmas Day, to the current release Surviving Christmas with the Relatives, which is being sold as a Christmas movie from the writer of Fatal Attraction.
God, I hate Christmas.
But family Christmases don't have to be played for laughs. In fact, their routines and rituals give filmmakers a dramatic structure that has stood the test of time. Let's take a look at two films made more than 50 years apart. In The Holly and the Ivy, a 1952 British picture, various members of the Gregory family head to Norfolk for a Christmas reunion. In the 2008 French film Un Conte de Noël, A Christmas Tale, it's the Vuillard family who are gathering. Now, the tone and setting of these films could hardly be more different. The Holly and the Ivy takes place in a village straight out of a Christmas card, whereas the Vuillard family are in a rainy northern French industrial town. The head of the Gregory family is a gentle country parson played by Ralph Richardson.
I don't know what they'll make of it all, I'm sure, but I'm going to tell them something about the ancient origins of their Christian customs.
How very interesting.
For the Vuillards, it's Catherine Deneuve's intimidating matriarch, cigarette rarely far from her lips.
Embêtant, c'est que je peux en mourir.
The Gregorys are all clipped accents and buttoned-up emotions.
Why must you always crackle like ice? What's happened to make you seem all frozen over inside?
I was pregnant. I couldn't very well tell anyone.
While the Vuillards can't wait to let rip.
Ferme ta gueule, je suis là. Oui, je sais, mais toi tu comptes pas. Et j'apprends.
But look at how the films echo each other. There are frank conversations while decorating the tree.
But this isn't a conflict. This is what I feel for someone I love.
You not love me too? Well, then it's suicidal.
Look, you're 31 now. It'll be another 5 years before I come back from South America. You'll be 36 then. That's middle-aged.
Non, mais je t'en prie. Après, tu lui as bien fait quelque chose.
Il y a eu une histoire avec le babysitter de Paul.
J'ai fini cul nu en train d'enfiler cette jeune femme dans la salle à manger. Bon, t'es pas mort d'homme.
There's tension round the dinner table.
Here you are now, my dear.
No, thank you, Father.
Oh, come now, Margaret. It won't do you any harm. Drink it up. It'll do you good.
Didn't you hear me say no, thank you?
Je vais me remarier.
And an intoxicated collapse.
Henri se rassit et il ne parlait plus.
So basically a typical Christmas, right? But there's another classic Christmas image that we see in both these films, and it stands in striking contrast to all the domestic disharmony. It's a model family, literally, and it takes us right back to where Christmas started. The original nativity story has been told many times in movies, most recently by Twilight director Catherine Hardwicke. A young woman, played here by Keisha Castle-Hughes, is visited by an angel who tells her that she's going to have a baby who will be the Son of God.
The Lord is with you. Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God.
With her partner Joseph, played by Oscar Isaac, Mary endures a ruggedly exhausting journey to Bethlehem, which it's a miracle that she survives. Arriving in Bethlehem, the pair find no room at the inn, but take sanctuary in a stable, where heavenly shafts of light and gently lowing cattle attend the birth of the Messiah. In recent years, it's become hard for any director to stage this scene without accidentally invoking the spectre of Monty Python.
Someone else is back. Go on. We were led by a star. Led by Butterball? I go on out. We must see him. We have brought presents. Out. Gold, frankincense, myrrh. Well, why didn't you say he's over there? Sorry, the place is a bit of a mess.
But plenty of filmmakers have revisited the Nativity in more secular terms, with surprisingly effective results. Debbie Tucker Green's Second Coming may not be a Christmas movie as such, but in it, Nadine Marshall's middle-aged mum Jackie comes to believe that her pregnancy is a heavenly visitation, a rerun of the original Nativity. The fact that she hasn't been intimate with her husband, played by Idris Elba, for some time raises the prospect of a miraculous conception, or perhaps deception.
How does it feel?
Scenes of dinner-table domesticity sit alongside surreal episodes in which holy water falls upon the mother-to-be in what may be a dream, a fantasy, or a vision. Only when the water starts to sweep horizontally across the screen do we appreciate that something otherworldly may be at hand, although whether it's all in the head or heart of a tormented soul is left for us to decide. Some films feature performances of the nativity story at the centre of a wider narrative.
And pretty soon, the hardness in your heart will melt and you will be able to love even your enemies.
In 2013, Cassie Lemons wrote and directed Black Nativity, an ambitious Christmas movie inspired by Langston Hughes' 1960s gospel song play. The result is a sentimental yet still streetwise Christmas movie which blends a well-worn religious narrative with more down-to-earth social awareness. It's also, crucially, a film in which a disparate family come together.
Reverend, I got something to ask you. I got my mother and my father in front of you, and I want to know what happened.
This theme resonates throughout Christmas movies, regardless of their culture or religion. In Palestinian writer-director Anne-Marie Jassir's Wajib, an estranged father and son are forced to spend days together going house to house in Nazareth in the run-up to Christmas. They bicker about problems, both personal and political, proving Jassir's maxim that families make you crazy. But they also find some form of resolution, a way of living with their differences. Time and again in Christmas movies, family is the very heart of the matter. Miracle on 34th Street has a romantic subplot in which Maureen O'Hara's divorced single mum Doris is courted by her neighbour Fred, played by John Payne. He's already befriended her daughter Susan, played by Natalie Wood, in a shameless bid to get to meet Doris. But in an era when the risks of passive smoking on children don't seem to have been a concern, Fred proves to be a more than worthy father figure for Susan, partly through his loyalty to Kris Kringle, who is himself a kind of grandparent substitute.
Stop, Uncle Fred, stop!
The film ends on Christmas Day with the new family unit provided a home courtesy of Kris Kringle's magic, the home we know that Susan has always dreamt of. In Elf, Will Ferrell discovers and is finally united with the family of his birth father, played by James Caan.
What the hell's that?
A Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree?
Buddy dropped it down in the park.
Before starting a family of his own with Zooey Deschanel.
Company wants to see you.
The film's last scene sees them happily at the North Pole with Ferrell's adoptive elf dad.
Hi, kiddo.
More simply, in Planes, Trains and Automobiles, in which Christmas, as we noted earlier, is played by Thanksgiving, John Candy is welcomed into Steve Martin's family home. And sometimes, in the absence of an actual family, we see a kind of alternative family form, often from very disparate elements.
What about Mommy?
She lives in God's house with Jesus and Mary and the ghost, and the long-eared donkey and Joseph and the talking walnut.
Well, who the fuck takes care of you then?
Grandma.
Huh? What's her name?
Grandma.
Is Granny spry?
In Bad Santa, overweight and underloved Thurman Merman acquires unlikely parental figures in the form of Billy Bob Thornton and Lauren Graham's Santa Claus fetishist.
Hello, little boy. Hello, Santa.
Yeah.
I know that Christmas Eve is in a couple days, and you have to fly around the whole world and give presents to everyone, and you won't be around anymore.
Yeah?
And in White Christmas, we see that Army veterans Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye's true family will always be the 151st Division. The film climaxes when they reunite the veterans of the division with their beloved former commanding officer. Which brings us to a particularly resonant set of Christmas films. As we just saw, the very first Christmas was spent in a distant land, with Joseph and Mary being forced to travel to Bethlehem, several days' ride from Nazareth. That idea of being displaced from your home runs through a stream of Christmas movies, particularly those made or set during wartime.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Irving Berlin's song White Christmas was first heard by the American public when Bing Crosby performed it on the radio on December 25th, 1941, just a few weeks after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
And children listen.
The next year, it topped the hit parade after featuring in the movie Holiday Inn, striking a chord with audiences separated from their loved ones by war.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
In the 50s, White Christmas earned its very own movie, a drama which begins in wartime 1944, in which, as we just saw, a group of army pals get together to ensure that their old CO has a perfect Christmas.
And may all your Christmases be white.
The power of a song to bind together people who've been torn apart is one that runs through the pantheon of Christmas movies. Take Vincent Minnelli's Meet Me in St. Louis. Although it's set at the turn of the century, the movie was released in 1944 and features Judy Garland singing Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine's heartbreaking ballad.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The song became a wartime Christmas favourite, epitomising the bittersweet nature of Yuletide celebrations for many whose loved ones wouldn't be coming home this or any year.
Someday soon we all will be together if the fates allow.
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas even makes an appearance in the grim World War II film The Victors, where Frank Sinatra's rendition of the song provides a horrifically poignant accompaniment to this shocking scene of execution. More recently, it turned up in George Clooney's wartime drama The Monuments Men, still striking a Christmas chord after all these years. The collision of Christmas, war, songs and an aching sense of distance recurs throughout movies as diverse as Oh What a Lovely War, A Midnight Clear and Joyeux Noël, the very titles of which riff on music hall tunes and Christmas carols. As we saw in our Secrets of Cinema programme about coming-of-age films, songs in movies can forge a powerful emotional connection to evoke feelings of longing and nostalgia, but also of love and romance.
I ought to say no, no, no.
Mind if I move in?
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense of hurting my
I
pride?
really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
In Elf, Buddy hearing Jovi singing Baby It's Cold Outside triggers something new and magical in our hero.
Get out! Don't look at me!
A feeling of romantic love.
Right.
Some of our favourite Christmas movies have a love story at their heart, and those stories are inflected by the conventions of Christmas. Christmas makes the perfect setting for a rom-com because the stakes are higher and everything's amplified by the season. You think about it, rom-coms are often about lonely or unfulfilled people, and during the festive season, they're likely to be that bit lonelier. Christmas, after all, is all about being with the ones you love. Plus, there are plenty of opportunities for heartwarming scenes of couples ice skating or taking horse-drawn carriage rides and standing around under mistletoe.
Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far away.
Christmas is frequently portrayed as a catalyst for change in protagonists and lovers, a return to core values, the sense of coming back to what's essential and truly important.
Why, you dog.
In the 1946 picture Remember the Night, freewheeling shoplifter Lee, played by Barbara Stanwyck, is forced to confront her past when she takes a trip back home with District Attorney John Sargent, played by Fred McMurray.
Sort of a specialist at it.
Glad? Why should I be glad? Good riddance to bad rubbish, I said the day she left.
When she is rejected by her own mother, Lee is welcomed by John's oddball family and they give her the second chance she needs.
Oh, boy, that's snazzy.
Returning to New York rather than avoid a jail sentence, Lee decides to change, to take her punishment and make the future her own.
If you still wanted me afterwards, I'd be all square. And you would have had plenty of time to think things over.
This is a theme that we can trace back to Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, which, with its transgressive plot lines and magical atmosphere, serves as an inspiration for so many Christmas romances.
You are now out of your text, but we will draw the curtain and show you the picture. Look you, sir. It's not well done.
Excellently done.
Todd Haynes' elegiac 1950s set drama Carol may not be entirely a Christmas film in spite of its name, but the opening and a critical part of the movie are set during the festive season. The lovers meet in that most quintessentially American location, the department store. Based on Patricia Highsmith's novel The Price of Salt, this tale of gay love in an era of intolerance is gorgeously shot on 16mm film, infusing it with nostalgic tones that slyly reference the Christmas art of Norman Rockwell.
Miss, where's the ladies' room, honey?
If you go back to the elevator and make a right, you can't miss it.
Thank you.
The reds and greens in the colour palette are powerful signifiers, casting the pair in a magical light. When Therese photographs Carol buying a Christmas tree in a subsequent scene, we see an intimate moment framed in a very traditional, rich and romantic Christmas setting.
It's gonna be a very good Christmas.
In Richard Curtis's 2003 rom-com Love Actually, a series of romantic plots play out over the weeks running up to Christmas. And here we see the frequent arc of the Christmas romance, that it leads not just to the couple, but to the family group.
Ah, hello.
Since when did you start using Ms. Gennaro?
The Christmas romance also focuses on relationships that are failing or under strain, and uses the spirit of the season to enable characters to rediscover their love. In Die Hard, the Christmas Eve hostage siege is a catalyst for John and Holly to repair their marriage. As marital therapy goes, it's admittedly a bit extreme, but it does force John to acknowledge his failings as a husband.
Told it took me a while to figure out what a jerk I've been.
In It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey is shown a world in which he doesn't exist by the angel Clarence as a way to transform his feelings. The scene in which George confronts his wife Mary, in this other reality an unhappy spinster, is his darkest hour. Without Mary's love, George is lost and afraid.
Mary! It's George! Don't you know me? What's happened to us? I don't know. You let me go. Mary, please. Oh, don't do this to me. Please, Mary. Help me. Where's our kids? I need you, Mary.
We can see these themes echoed in The Bishop's Wife from 1947 and in its 1996 remake, The Preacher's Wife, starring Whitney Houston and Denzel Washington.
Where'd you come from?
Troubled Pastor Henry and his wife Julia are struggling with their marriage. Here, the angel Dudley begins to fall in love with Julia, and the jealousy that causes in Henry becomes the force that will bring the two of them back together.
I believe in you and me.
What all these films show is that characters sometimes need to be pushed to their limits to learn life's most important lessons.
Help me to sponge away the writing on the stone if I repent. And I do repent, I do repent.
The climax of A Christmas Carol is a classic moment of character change and redemption. Someone finally taking responsibility for their mistakes and committing to try better in the future.
I'm not the man I was. I'm not the man I was.
But what's really going on here? Are the ghosts forcing Scrooge to change his character? Or are they reconnecting him with his earlier true self? In Scrooge, the ghost takes us and Frank Cross back to his meet-cute moment with Karen Allen's Claire, the woman he briefly fell in love with.
Cupid's arrow right between the eyes.
The young Frank we see here is warm and sympathetic. Like Scrooge himself, he wasn't always the mean-spirited man he later became.
Yes.
Here.
Oh!
It happens to the best of us. Even the thoroughly decent George Bailey has somehow drifted away from his rightful self.
Dad, how do you spell hallelujah?
How should I know? What do you think I am, a dictionary? Tommy, stop that, stop it. Janie, haven't you learned that silly tune yet? You play it over and over again. Now stop it, stop it.
By the end of the story, George, like Scrooge and Frank Cross, isn't so much changed as mended.
George, darling, where are you? Oh, George, George.
Let me touch you. Are you real?
And so it's time I laid my Christmas cards on the table, because for me, the essence of a great Christmas film, the most important secret of this genre of cinema, is the possibility of healing. And it's not just the healing of an individual. As we've suggested earlier, it could be a relationship. The healing of John and Holly's marriage in Die Hard isn't just a tacked-on subplot. It's woven into the fabric of the story from start to finish. A story about healing, set on Christmas Eve, with a woman called Holly. It's a Christmas movie, Bruce.
Merry Christmas, sweetheart.
We see those fractious families being healed too. In Home Alone, Kevin's mother finally succeeds in getting back to him to be reconciled and forgiven.
Oh, Kevin, I'm so sorry.
We may not all go on such dramatic emotional journeys ourselves this season. I don't know about you, but my idea of a good Christmas doesn't involve ghosts or a hostage siege. But we can identify with those big moments of healing and change because at this time of year, we all feel a bit of it happening to us too.
It's Christmas Eve. It's the one night of the year when we all act a little nicer. We smile a little easier. We share a little more. For a couple of hours out of the whole year, we are the people that we always hoped we would be.
And speaking of miracles, how better to mark healing and reconciliation than with a sign of heavenly blessing like ticker tape or confetti from the sky? It's the most magical Christmas movie moment of all, when the snow falls and your heart sings. Merry Christmas, and let it snow.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.